Right, finally into the juicy bit of the WYNG card tomorrow, where, well, you know, what can I say? There's 3 races that might be bettable. We opened the card with 5 races that were ostensibly maidens. I realised the distance races technically are Class 1, but Class 1 for distance horses is the equivalent of a maiden. So we come to a benchmark 64 over a mile, and well, look who's favourite. Sworn to Silence, $4.20. The subject of the Pearl, the number 1 Pearl, which was about intent, $4.80. Host WYNG Vintage, who distinguished himself, well, not, at Canterbury at a night meeting recently. $6 I'm Bulletproof, the victor over Sworn to Silence. $7.50 Seasonal. $8 Baroque Girl. $12 Nick on the Run. $14 Never Back Down. $16 Unsinkable Sam. $51 the despised Paradale. Now, it looks to be I'm Bulletproof assuming the lead. Tommy Berry is always a bit dangerous in that position because he doesn't seem to know how to ride leaders. You know, I realise I'm giving jockeys advice, but you know, that's my opinion from the grandstand.
For fuck's sake, Mark, jockeys need plenty of advice.
Baroque Girl is back from a distance, so but Deanne Pena will take it up if she's offered it. Unsinkable Sam and Host WYNG Vintage I had on speed. Never Back Down is handy along the inside there. Sworn to Silence sort of has to go back, so I think he's not got as sympathetic a track tomorrow. I realise he came back to the 1600 last time, but not for mine. Sworn to Silence, but I believe you found a corker here, Gord.
I'd hardly call it a corker.
Like a horse with, you know, like a winning.
This is a low race, and you know,
it's an even race. I think to say it a low race, I mean, it fits its profile. This race.
I'm trying to think more like other people when they do distance form.
Right. With the view to what?
Well, I know this is 1600 metres, but it's just like you can't worry about what stage it is in its prep. You know what I mean? Like little sort of things like that.
Well, can't you just say, look, there's no up-and-comers here, not for me?
Well, it actually Never Back Down ran in the Goldwood Cup. It was only beaten by 1.4 lengths by Skillful. What price would Skillful be in this race?
He'd be well found. I think the other salient point is the fact that Never Back Down has had tens of runs in town since he was last of the provincials. And, you know, aside from the Goldman Cup, which is a bit of a left field thing.
But this is Mark. This is wild.
I know. Like, he's you know, and you know, just when you think Jimmy Lee comes back to the provincials and he'll put some bloody spastic on it, he puts A Hieronymus
on. And we go from A late to A Hieronymus as well, so it's a positive jockey change. So, yeah, and then as far as lining up, how did you line up Sworn to Silence and I'm Bulletproof? Like, Sworn to Silence has the SP.
Yeah.
But I'm Bulletproof won the race.
And is likely to be in a more advantageous position tomorrow. Tommy Berry will notwithstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, you know, look, none of these horses particularly appeal. I'm a bit scared of Nick on the Run, who has no form at all but gun. Baroque Girl ran such an amazing race at her second start this preparation, then crawled across the line at Gosford, and then has since gone west for a distance run, but does have Deanne Pena, and you know, I'd quite like to see it go to the lead and try its luck there. Host WYNG Vintage put a space in them in faster time than Baroque Girl did at Gosford, and then got completely lost at Canterbury. Look, there are 7 chances, perhaps 8 chances in this race, because Unsinkable Sam is coming off a win. So let's just leave it at that.
I made Baroque Girl an absolute moral 2 starts back.
Yeah, it's $8.
Had a very good result. 1600 metres, can I forgive an absolute failure at Orange? I can't.
It's over a distance, so you know, I think he thinks no. Look, she's just a horse.
Yeah.
She has won 2 mile races at Gosford. She's been well placed on both occasions, which is why she's $8.
So people might get conned by the stats there with Baroque Girl as well.
What, the mile stats?
Yeah.
Okay, we move into slightly juicier territory, which is Class 2, and look, as soon as you look, there's no worse races than benchmark 60s. Benchmark 64 is, well, 65, 64, they're doable. Benchmark 60s are the low race. Classes 1 and 2, you've got young horses lightly raced horses, you're in your territory. $13.50 for the penultimate, and Cabeza de Vaca is $3.80. $5.50 Tammany Hall. I've missed Little Miss Brown for Tim Clark at $4.80. $4.80 Validate, and then we're out in double figures. $12 Tilbury Lodge. $15 Better Be Good, who doesn't have a rider, which means I don't know what. And then longer odds, 26 bar the rest. Not an obvious speedathon, which may give Cabeza de Vaca the opportunity to get up on the speed, which he probably needs to be. I had Tilbury Lodge certainly handy. Coys could push on from his wide draw. Validate won't be too far away from the wideish draw for Gun, and there's not much else really. Gord.
You stamp 1 as obviously being the clear favourite, but it's not 100% proven. So I think outside the 1 you could find quite a few horses to have a little bit of a dabble at here.
Yeah, the weird thing is that I was kind to it first up, and the market was even kinder, and it went okay, but you look back on its trial and you go, well, it needed to be in the finish in its trial before it resumed. Do you know what I mean? Like, it got beaten too far, and it was a fast trial, but 3.5 lengths in the trial is...
Tony Gollan, Sal Malansar, which has since just been flying Saturday Metropolitan
It's
races.
hardly relevant. It's not a relevant comparison. But the point being that you want to see Gay's horses like doing their, like sticking their neck out, being in the finish, if not winning, like trying hard in a close second.
Gay stables change with the bot partnership. This thing will be winning.
Right, so you're a bit keener than you started out.
I always like to look at the negative first to think, you know, what am I thinking about this particular race? As I said in my opening comments was, okay, clearly it has to be favourite. Now, what am I going to find behind it that's close to it? And I found a whole bunch.
Yeah. And it's really a bunch of riders, isn't it?
Like, Better Be Good can pull out a decent run every once in a while, you know, knocked off some decent horses.
He hasn't done it at Wyong, but...
No. I mean, Coys beat Pepperbury, which nearly won a Saturday Metropolitan race, Mark.
Yeah,
Can't you remember that?
Let's overlook that one. I think, you know, I need to be talking about Little Miss Brown, T. Clark, and Validate, B. Abdallah, both of whom I think are a bit ordinary, but they've got steerers that will give them some hope.
Okay, 2 years ago, Cabeza de Vaca gets beaten by 2.3 lengths in that Beaumont race. I'm giving it none in this race.
Right, okay.
Now, with the change and the way they're training
you're
things,
Mr. Flexibility
I
indeed.
actually think it's more.
Okay, so Gord is keen on 1. I certainly concur. Validate will be, well, look, it's well found. Little Miss Brown ran on a more sympathetic track the other day when she was fresh. She's now still at $13.50. I think she needs a mile, and she ran in one of those wretched benchmark 60s, which, look, I realise that you know, she's on the same track, but benchmark 60s are lower than low. Tilbury Lodge I'll mention. I'll give an honourable mention because he'll just be there and he's third up. But he's not much of anything, but $12 is there. And that's pretty much it from me. We'll move on to the
Nightcap.
And what a cracking fucking nightcap it is.
This could be a Saturday race, Mark. Seriously, I think there's listed ability here.
This is amazing, you know, and it's at a distance that I don't really like, but 1,000 metres, and Treviso, who was a late scratching at Hawkesbury a couple of weeks ago, and not sure what happened there, but he's not done anything since. $3.60. $3.60 their debut Canberra winner, Weissman, who's since trialled. $6.50 Tornadic. $8 Never Out. $9.50 Miss Bunny Hop. $15 All A Flutter, who did run an amazing price against a smart horse once upon a time. $21 the Massara trained Banksia, and I can promise you that numbers 2 and 3 have absolutely no chance, so don't even think about them. Treviso is a local with very good toe. In fact, a brilliant beginner. So Treviso I've got going straight to the lead. It's bloody Tommy Berry again. Weissman has good toe and will be on speed. Tornadic is drawn outside them and is on speed as well. Miss Bunny Hop has been carting them along in a couple of fast trials recently. She's hopping along there, and All A Flutter has got blinkers on from gate 1, not too far away. And Never Out, who's locally trained and could lead this field possibly, but may have to opt for a sit here. Right, there's so much to look at, isn't there?
There's so much to look at, and I've ended up back where I started. So I've been waiting for Treviso for a long time now, Mark. I thought it was a horse with a lot of ability. I'm not so concerned about the trial, which didn't look that particularly impressive.
Well, it's now a long time ago, and he was supposed to run at Hawkesbury since then.
And it was at Sable, and they're a bit sneaky, aren't they? So.
Yeah, you don't really pay too much attention to their trials.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I did pay attention to was only an 800 metre trial, but if I'm giving the listed status that I'd previously done last preparation with a particular horse, I've got to be keen on it. And maybe I shouldn't have been so upset when I looked down the page and there was all these other horses that in different races I would have wanted to back as well. So
yes, but isn't that letting you on, number one?
Yes, well I think it is at that price. Anything over $3 is a good price.
Look, I think Tornadic has perhaps met his match in this race, but Miss Bunny Hop, who has no form at all, but has two wondrous trials in very, very slick time. I realise she's a female, so she can do that. But I just kept looking at the trial at...
it was fantastic.
Well, both of them were. You know, actually the Gosford trial was better because she didn't find the fence.
So you're saying no form. I'm actually saying Alingi runs a magnificent second.
Yeah. She does. You mean she does a great job to run second?
Yeah.
Yeah, well look, I'm honestly saying that I looked at this horse in this race and I went, well, I won't even have to think about this horse. And when I saw the trials, I went, holy shit, what's happened here? She's come back amazingly. So I don't know what the key to that is, but it's
There is
scary.
a reference point.
What?
The Starcross, but only in a trial situation.
Yeah, and Starcross was like wide, like off the track in that trial, but the time was so fast. Starcross you mentioned because interestingly Starcross has always been a horse that trials really well, really fast, and that how somehow punters made a big boo-boo. All A Flutter won her debut race at Scone, and they went, well, that's good enough for us. 4's on at her next start, and she gets towed up, in fact runs third behind Starcross and another runner. But Tim Clark rides there, blinkers on, first up.
It doesn't end there either, Mark. When I turn the page, second step.
Well, second step is scratched.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was scratched early. Never
okay,
Out.
Well, actually, my Never Out I actually had on top of second step because of the previous history there, which was connected. So.
I know Never Out was a very good run on debut, and then she went to 1200 at Warwick Farm, got put to the sword in a pretty good race. I mean, that's a deep enough fillies race to propel you back to the provincial. She comes home for the first time. Maybe 1,000, 12, 1,000 is not ideal, but she does lose T Berry. Maybe it's a positive jockey change, Joe Ford.
Well, sometimes change is positive, whatever it is.
Look, so she's out of the market here at $8. I think she's priced attractively.
Oh, well, the one that's actually very hard in the market is this thing at one at Canberra, which I give none.
Right, but he look. I'll text you. We saw in a highway race the other day, not distinguishing himself overly, but he was on the inside. He subsequently went and broke his maiden at Queanbeyan. Look, Joe Pride is just he sneaks up on you.
Yeah, he does sneak up on you. He's not.
You know, his horses don't look to trial well enough, and yet they run better than that. And this horse has run at Canberra, which shouldn't be good enough for as deep a race as this. But it's got gun and it's trialled since and trialled well. So, look, you know, we'll have to just agree to bet around it. But at the same time, it's a bit of a scary horse.
I'm not scared of anything in this race. Treviso, tomorrow. It's my bet of the day.
Treviso.
I think the
Treviso.
fact that there's actually some interesting form lines and some good form lines in this race is the only reason we're getting a price about a horse like this. Snap it up at WYNG on a Wednesday because you won't get it again.
So is that your best?
Yep.
And race 1, we'll top and tail here. RMA $2.60. I'm all in. I'm chips all in.
Your chips all, Mark. You know, you're not normally that aggressive.
Well,
You must be keen, mate.
no, it's just a wild card, isn't it?
I'm going to be unloading on it as well. That price is not going to stand up, people. So if you're
Okay.
watching tonight, back.
Yeah, get on. Get your bowlers ready because Gord's exhausted his bowlers.
And I've got a lot of friends.
Anyway, that's the WYNG card. Thanks for being with us. We'll be filming early on Thursday night for yet another Rose Hill Saturday. It's a very vanilla Rose Hill Saturday this time, but I'm sure that won't...
Where are we at Melbourne, Mark? Mornington or something like that, are we? Or?
Gord, you'll be pleased to know it's Flemington this weekend.
Oh my God, thank you.
And don't forget the Canterbury Friday night. It's a provincial and metropolitan free Thursday at Goulburn, so keep your eyes peeled for Thursday evening RacingRant Park for previews of Flemington and Rose Hill. See you then.
I saw the Thursday meeting Goulburn, I was so excited.